All right, all right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. I'm Tom. I'm here with George. This is our very first ever live stream with Bitcoin over $69,000. We're going to go through Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, the stock market. Welcome everybody. George, how you doing?
I'm okay. How you doing? Sorry.
Doing good. Ah,
Oh, that was an accident. That was an accident.
that's all right.
Sorry.
Or was it? Here, let me get the chart up. I'll remember on my own this time.
Uh,
We got the Bitcoin chart, this yellow line, which we have not had to talk about actually ever, is Bitcoin's previous all-time high back from November of 2021, as I'm sure most, if not all of you know. We went way above that today. New all-time high today. This 15-minute candle. This is Bitcoin on the 15-minute time frame, according to this chart, which is the Bitcoin chart, the Bitcoin Coinbase chart at the 15-minute level. We got to $70,199 this morning. That is a new all-time high. So whichever chart you're looking on, it should be some number that is somewhere in that neighborhood. So over 70,000 for the first time in history. Massive, massive pullback. Just like the last time a few days ago, like huge sell-off. But unlike the last time, we rallied pretty much all the way back. No, we didn't get over 70,000, but we're over 60,000, and we stand a shot here. We still got several hours. We have 3 hours, I believe, until the daily candle close, but we are set up for a potential daily candle close over 69,000. That would be the highest daily candle close in the history of Bitcoin. So we could potentially have the highest daily candle close. We're getting set up to potentially have the highest weekly candle close. I see George is now a cow.
yeah, well, I'm not blurry though. You like my milkers?
That's that's your temporary solution.
Yeah,
George's
yeah, I'll
camera was
fix it.
blurry for some reason. He's working on that due to technical difficulties. He's now in costume.
Oh,
Everybody,
I think I
welcome.
know what it was. I know what it is. Okay, I got it. I figured it out.
Got it figured out. While that is happening, if you guys could please smash the like button, it helps the stream out in real time, big time. We're going for 500 likes. We're at 39 likes right now. So do us a favor. If you're here, if you enjoy this content, if you had a good day, smash the like button. If you had a bad day, I guess you can. I think there's still a thumbs down button out there somewhere, but
Who could have a bad day today?
I, somebody somewhere probably had a bad day, but I'm
Okay.
guessing that most of the people here had either somewhere between a good day and a great day or an outstanding day. This was a worth the wait. It's been very tough for several weeks now, and in some ways for several months for the Bitcoin miners. Of course, if you're predominantly in Bitcoin more so than the Bitcoin miners, then it's all good stuff. We're having a little bit of move to the downside as we speak, but we're trading in a range. Let's see if Bitcoin can hold on. Looking for Bitcoin to close over $69,000 on the day today. I want to go to the 1 day for a minute and let's look at our target. This is our previous all-time daily close. This was on Monday. We closed at 68,360. So this day is not over. Even though we're $800 over that, we've been over $1,000 over that in the last few minutes. The moves are, this thing moves fast. So we're looking to hold on. Let's get that new all-time high daily candle close.
People would short this right now? That's crazy.
I took a look. Let's go take a look at, for whatever it's worth. This is the heat map that, let me find it. This is the Binance liquidation heat map. This is at coinglass.com. So these yellow lines are lines of liquidation. So you can see this is an unusual time. I've never seen this. I looked on the 1 day, the 3 day, the 1 week. It seems like the volatility has been so big to the upside and the downside. And remember, we just had this gigantic move. So you can see, these candles are all today. All these yellow lines got taken out. So that means everybody got liquidated to the upside. Everybody got liquidated to the downside. I've never seen a time like this where there's really no yellow lines in sight. and this is on the 3-day, all the way down here at 65, all the way down here, 65,500, which is still, very close to the all-time high. It looks like there's a little bit building up here somewhere at around 70,500, a little bit, but I think for the first time in a long time, people are a little bit scared to super leverage in either direction right now, because this is the second time in a 1.5 hour window of time the longs got crushed and the shorts got crushed. So, and that's obviously, that is this. I'll draw the worst circle ever because I can't draw, but these are 15-minute candles. So, in this short period of time, everybody who was short leveraged got wrecked right here and that took them out. And I say everybody, that's not everybody, but a lot of people. And then with this quick, massive move to the downside, longs, if you were 20x leveraged long or 50x leveraged long, you got wiped out down here too. So I never ever play in that world. For those of you that do, if you make money, congratulations. I would just say be ultra careful. 10x leveraging, 20x leveraging, 50, 100, those products are out there. In reality, if you are in the US, and I know we have people from all around the world, you're really not allowed to use them in the US, but obviously there are ways to circumvent. I don't do that. Not for that reason, for the reason that I would be terrified to 20x leverage. I mean, you can get taken out in a heartbeat. With that said, we only have to go back to here. Oh, sorry. This is just a few days ago. Get off of the line drawing. If we go back to Tuesday, right, we had the same situation. We broke out to a new all-time high, and this was our first time across. So as soon as we broke out to 69,000, we had an even much more vicious sell-off, right? This was on Tuesday. In a couple hours, this was the better part of, this was almost 15% move in a few hours to the downside. Now, obviously, we've come all the way back and beyond. So, but in the meantime, the volatility, things are getting heated up. Midway, thank you very much for the super chat. And also, thank you for being a member to the channel. Midway said, Cypher reported very good earnings. Bitfarms earnings seemingly had some one-time bad stuff related to warrants. What's your opinion about Bitfarms earnings? I will tell you, thanks for the question, Midway. And yes, Cypher had a very good report. It had a big move to the upside. It pulled back a little bit yesterday, and then, did end up in the green today. And at the same time, Bitfarms, I got asked this question several times going into earnings, what's your thoughts on earnings? And I thought it would be a non-event. Actually, it was in the very short term, Bitfarms did sell off. Now it was up 6.37% today. So it's back on track. I thought that was almost exactly as expected. I did not think there were going to be any surprises in there. I really think we knew, here's the thing with Bitfarms. This last quarter, I prefaced it by saying, so much has changed since the last quarter. Remember, this is the quarter ended December 31st, 2023. So, since then, in the first quarter of 2024, we've had a huge run up in the price of Bitcoin. So everybody's financials are going to look different in the first quarter. But the other thing that's going on with Bitfarms is they are swapping out, the vast majority of their fleet, while at the same time tripling their exahash over the next, 120 to 150 days. So looking backwards to stuff that happened, between, 2.5 and 5.5 months ago, to me, for Bitfarms, there wasn't a lot of meaningful information there. The one thing was, you could take a look at their overhead, and, there was some of the year end, and you can expect this with a lot of the companies. There was a lot of year end bonuses, some non-cash compensation, some of that kind of stuff. But I really thought it was exactly what I expected. And we already knew operationally, right? They beat all their all-time revenue numbers. And we knew operationally, because we get monthly operational reports, we know what's going on. Now, are there other surprises in there? In this instance, there really was nothing that didn't meet my expectations. I think, in the Cypher report, I think there was some new stuff that exceeded some people's expectations, and particularly they talked about some growth plans they elaborated on. So, that I think that's where the pump was on that. Cleanspark to 100. Thanks for the super chat. Cleanspark is the golden child for this bull run cycle. We'll take a look at that. I updated the chart of all the Bitcoin miners through today's action, and it is not even close. So far, at this point, Cleanspark is just absolutely wiping the floor. As far as the stock price action versus all the other Bitcoin miners, it is a runaway first place situation so far. But I would just caution everybody, as you guys know, we're early in the year. These moves can be volatile, and things move very quickly. I do have a super high level of conviction in Cleanspark. That happens to be my largest position. Not financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to buy Cleanspark. Obviously, Cleanspark to 100 is a fan of Cleanspark. Also, thank you for being a member. So, that's I have a very high level of conviction in Cleanspark and Bitfarms. Those are really my top two. There's several other Bitcoin mining companies out there that I think are going to be big winners in this bull run. I do think a lot of other Bitcoin miners are going to suffer in this 4-year cycle. It's not going to be like the previous cycles, in my opinion. It will not be all Bitcoin miners to the moon. I track 19 publicly traded Bitcoin miners, right? In the last bull market, we just didn't have that. And, even most of the ones we had were brand new. So for them to run from nothing to a new all-time high was one thing. But a lot of these companies, and I'll show you a report. Everybody who reports has reported their February results. So I'm going to show you that list. And I kind of drew a line on that list of, over, under, tracking people's exahash. I think it's worth looking at because those companies that just don't have a lot of exahash and they haven't articulated a plan to get to, a certain level of exahash, I think they're falling behind between the amount that the overall network has grown, the difficulty, has more than doubled. So the network's much more than doubled. And then we're going into a halving. So, some of that is made up by the fact that the price of Bitcoin has run up. But going into and beyond the halving, I think 10 exahash is the magic number. And that does not mean that every Bitcoin miner under 10 exahash is going to be a failure. There's some in that middle area that I think, may do well in this bull run. There's others that I think probably aren't going to make it at all. AG, thank you very much for the super chat. And also thank you for being a member as well. AG said, changing my name to Bitfarms to 50. Cheers, boys. Thank you. Cheers right back at you. And here's the Bitfarms to 50. I would be all for that. Right? Bitfarms was at $4, a week and a half ago. So it's at and I'll check. Let's just check the chart and see what the actual reality is on that. It feels like it was yesterday, but Bitfarms was just, Bitfarms was, so it's a couple of weeks ago. Bitfarms on February 27th, so a couple of weeks ago, got up to, this says $3.91. So it must have been in pre-market that it was over $4. It must have been in pre-market. So during trading hours, it looks like the highest it got was to $3.91. But either way, the point is, it ran like all the miners. It had a big pullback, almost 40%. So today was a nice day, and more to come. I think if Bitcoin can hold on to these gains, and we'll take a look, and it's hanging hanging around at this $69,000 mark. If it can hold on to its gains and, start to close at new highs, I think we may have seen the end of this 10+ week beatdown of the Bitcoin miners. So I've been very hesitant. I didn't want to call that. And we're all right. Welcome to Talkin Investing. A certainty by any means at this point, but this does feel like we're turning a corner. AG just gifted 5 Talking Investing memberships. Thank you, AG. And so welcome to Peter, Crypto Rich, Gary, Jerry, David, and Andy. Welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad. So if you're, and for those of you who are interested, you can join the Talking Investing Squad. You can become a member for $5 a month. So you're also obviously, as a member, as you can see, you're allowed to gift other people members. So thank you, AG, for giving out those 5 memberships. To those of you who got those memberships, there's a bunch of deep dives on some of the smaller Bitcoin miners that are members only videos. We also have a every Tuesday after the market closes, we have a members only live stream where we go through some extra stuff, and we have a members only Discord. So a bunch of benefits for just $5 a month for anybody who's interested. We're a small channel and it helps us out, so you're welcome to join. Otherwise, if you would consider subscribing to the channel, if you're interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, that is what we do here. And we've been doing it for 3 years now, and thousands of videos, literally. So,
Tom,
yes,
you got a good poll?
I
did a poll already, which was, will Bitcoin hit 75K next week? Came to like 70-some, 74%.
Wow. I'm just looking back. 73% think Bitcoin to 75K next week. That is extremely bullish. Well,
good idea for a poll.
I think we got to start with, starting and every time we do this poll, we do it from today forward. So, and that is comparing the Bitcoin miners. So there's already been a lot of price action, and we'll take a look at that. I'm going to show you a chart from the beginning of the year to today. So from today forward, I think, what is the best, what is everybody's opinion? What are you putting your money into next? What's the best investment starting now, right? Because you don't get to go back in time and get the run that they've already had. So
I'm doing the 4 biggest, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
But which one? What about Core? Isn't Core bigger than Bitfarms?
It mines more Bitcoin, but the market cap is not larger. But we might have to have 2 brackets. So do.
Well, I was doing CleanSpark, Riot, Bitfarms, Mara.
Right. Those seem to be the 4. But I do think there's 4 more. We could do 2 of these and then see, what's what, and then do a runoff, because there's several Bitcoin. I can just tell you, I think there's going to be people in the comments section saying, what about Terawolf? What about Cypher? Like you mentioned, what about Core Scientific? What about Iris Energy? That would be the next 4 that I would put on the list. I'm not saying that, we'll see what people think. But I think those 4 are standouts as well, in my opinion.
I'm going to be honest. I was in shock that that CleanSpark closed over $20. And right at the last minute, they dumped a whole bunch of shares. Oh no, did they?
And they weren't over 20 for most of the day. So I was very surprised.
575,000 shares, like the last 2 minutes.
I'm gonna go to the 1 hour on CleanSpark.
That was insane.
So they got
Tom.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about dilutions.
Dilutions or
Sorry.
both.
Sorry, being a cow, it's not easy to talk.
Can you uncow yourself yet?
I tried to uncow, but it's still blurry.
Sure.
So the cow's not blurry. When will we start to know that they have gotten all their money that they needed to get, these guys?
I mean, really, ultimately, definitively, we're not. They could put out a press release. It would not be unprecedented. There are certain companies that have put out a press release when they're, done with their at the market. I'll tell you who did, in my opinion, a little bit of a fake out. Iris Energy put out a press release, I think it was in December, that said, we've raised all the capital to get to our 10 exahash. And while that might have been true, what they didn't say is they weren't done raising capital because they raised a significant amount after that announcement. So you always got to be careful. I always wait for the financial statements because when you get the financial statements, for instance, the financials that we got this week, we got to take a look at the stock dilution for the entire fourth quarter. But in addition to that, in the subsequent events or management's discussion, should be in both, they'll tell you the amount of stock dilution they did or the number of shares that were issued from the end of the year through the day of reporting. So, if they reported on March 7th, then they'll tell you, from January 1st to March 7th, we did this much more shares. So you start to get, that's the day to me that you have the absolute best sense of what that number is. And we do have pretty much all of the big Bitcoin miners have very big at the market shelf offerings. So they are all going through stock dilution, but by the same token, they have gigantic growth plans. So I did, there's Riot and Marathon, I think in back-to-back days. Riot put out a $750 million at the market offering, and then 1 or 2 days later, Marathon put out a $1.5 billion at the market offering. And I do think that they have been lagging a little bit, although Marathon was up 7.7% today. Riot's been lagging for a variety of reasons. We had a long conversation with our members only, and confidence is low in Riot among the members. I am an outlier. I did add to my position in Riot this week. So again, I just tell you guys what I'm doing, but please do your own due diligence and make your own stock selections. If I'll be a broken record, but if you don't know what's going on with these stocks, and if you don't believe it to your core, and you're just listening to me or anybody else, you're going to get washed out of these stocks because the volatility is too vicious. There's just no way.
A month ago, basically just pulled a double in CleanSpark.
Yeah, CleanSpark's been on fire. CleanSpark has absolutely dusted the field over the last, really, since January 1st. So I'll go to that chart, and I just updated this chart seconds before the stream opened, so you can double check me if it's not right. I think this is all right. So this is not the one. This was as of last Friday. So this is what the Bitcoin miners did last week. So this is a week old. Every weekend I update this, so I'll get all new charts out this weekend with what all the Bitcoin miners did this week. But I did, for the purposes of this stream, update year to date as of right now, as of the close of the markets a few minutes ago in the US. So the first thing that jumps out at me on this chart, well, two things jump off the page. Number one, Bitcoin's already up 65% year to date as of the close, that 4 p.m. Eastern time. That is when the U.S. equity markets close. So that's the number I used for Bitcoin to compare apples to apples, because obviously that's when all the Bitcoin mining stocks, stop trading. So already a massive year. Last year, 2023, Bitcoin was up over 150%. This is 65% on top of that. On a compound basis, you're going to see Bitcoin's basically pulled a triple from the bottom. But the other thing to notice is Marathon's at 0. Every other Bitcoin miner is down year to date, with the exception of CleanSpark, which is up 83% year to date. So this is what I'm saying. In second place is Marathon at 0. So this 83% run in CleanSpark is just absolutely staggering. And really, it's not that much more than Bitcoin's doing. So, so far, the Bitcoin miners have been behaving badly for the last about 10 weeks. So, it's way too soon. We did have 2 green days this week. That was nice to see. Are we turning the corner? Is this going to start turning around? Because, by the end of the year, to me, I will show you what last year's chart looked like. So this is what Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners did in 2023. So by the end of the year, despite the fact we had a massive, massive pullback in the Bitcoin miners for 14 full weeks in 2023, this is where 2023 ended. So the question is 2024 going to fix itself, right? Because these were 400, 500, 600% moves to the upside. And
do you think CleanSpark would slow down and the other guys would start to catch up, or no?
That is the question. Has this run out ahead of itself? I think we should do a poll on that before I give my answer. And I want to get to Darren. Thank you for being a member, Darren, and thanks for the super chat. Tom, please be careful using the word all. Wolf at the market. It's been sitting on the shelf collecting mothballs for 2 years now. So, yeah, I mean, everybody, please do your own due diligence, right? All these miners are not identical. I do think Wolf, Wolf, I'll show you what Wolf did. So I would say in response that I would be, if you're investing in Wolf and you think they're not going to dilute, I would be careful there as well, because they did put out a plan and they talked about like tripling their exahash, maybe even quadrupling. And so, there's only one path to that. And they're going to need to raise, I don't know what the number is, 300 million, 500 million, 700 million, for them to do what they said they're going to do. Now, they were pretty generic about phase 2 of this. Terawolf put out a plan to get to 10 exahash, and they've been able to, do that with a modest amount of stock dilution, to Darren's point. But to get to some of the numbers that they just put out a few days ago in their latest presentation, if they're going to do that, then I think you're going to see some, just like the, and not to single them out, it'll be just like the other Bitcoin miners. So, if they're satisfied at 10 and they stay at 10, then they may be able to avoid some of this large stock dilution that some of the other Bitcoin miners have done. So, we'll see with Terawolf. And to Darren's point, everybody, please be careful, right? Not all Bitcoin miners are doing the exact same thing. They're not all created equal. Terawolf is something I'm gaining some more confidence in. I'm still worried. They're still at $85 million in debt, right? So it's very hard. You've got to pay off the interest on that versus all of their peers are very nearly at zero debt. The exception of that would be Marathon has some debt, but they are at such a significantly larger scale financially as a company. Their liquidity vastly is greater than their debt. That's why I look at these balance sheets and these income statements and spend so much time. So for Terawolf, my concern with them is they've got $85 million of principal they need to pay off. They have to pay debt. They have to pay interest on that as they go. And they're looking to, triple their exahash. So where does that money come from? And in the meantime, to George, and I'll let you speak to this, George, what's your number one thing you want to see Bitcoin miners do? I'll set you up if
plug in their machines.
Yeah, we talked on the live stream. Your big concern was you wanted the Bitcoin miners to hold Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I mean we got into that one. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Well, if you anticipate a loaf of bread to be worth $100 in a year from now, why would you get rid of it today?
The fact that it would be stale, notwithstanding.
It's still going to be worth $100 though.
Well, I guess if it's worth $100, then it doesn't make any difference. That's true. Everybody, if you could do us a favor and please smash the like button. We are at 130 likes. Thank you to everybody who has smashed the like button. We're going for 500 likes. Yes, George.
We died down growing the channel subs. It's 20,200. Stopped again. It just somebody put the brakes on it.
That's what happens. We ran. We had a nice run, and then all of a sudden, a stall. Just for information purposes, when it says, the picture of me that says Talkin Investing is actually George in the chat.
All I wrote was LOO David.
I'm just pointing it out so that people know.
He gets nervous. I was gonna solicit for dates for you, Tom, and now
Oh
you know
boy, I
how
blew it.
you doing. I do a little Joey from Friends. How you doing?
So we're under 69,000, 68.8 at the moment. Just to take a quick look back at the Bitcoin itself. So we'll see what's going on this stream. It would be nice if this run could continue. We don't want to see, we had massive volatility today. So from the top to the bottom, it was not like the other day where it was almost 15%, but from the top to the bottom, which was even a faster run, this was under 6%. So it felt pretty vicious, but it stopped quickly, and we did basically recover from this in a reasonably short period of time. And then it was up all day from there. And the biggest change today for those of you in the Bitcoin miners, which I know is most of the members and probably a lot of the subscribers and other people watching, the Bitcoin miners did not do their thing where they opened, in pre-market, we've had so many days where in pre-market the Bitcoin miners were green. It looked like they were going to be off to the races, only for all that to be erased in the first half an hour of trading once the market opened, and then they go down. And many days Bitcoin continued to run up and the miners ran down at the same time. So that trend did not happen today. In fact, as Bitcoin did this big run to the downside, almost every single miner was still green, even down here at the bottom. Now, we did have a few finish in the red today, Iris Energy, and it was just barely 0.19% down on the day. Core Scientific, 0.25% down on the day. But Core Scientific had a very good week, so I wouldn't read too much into the fact that it didn't quite keep up today. It ran out so far ahead of everybody else earlier in the week that that's what happened today. DigiHost was a little bit in the red, and if you can see, I don't know if this is on the DMG was down 2.8%. So those are a couple of micro cap, nano caps that had a down day. On the flip side, a couple of the nano caps had a very good day. Stronghold was up 9%, a continuation since their earnings, which mystifies me a little bit, my personal opinion. Mawson was up 19%, Eni was up 11%. MicroStrategy, which is not a Bitcoin miner, but obviously, they hold 190,000 and change in Bitcoin, so they're a play on Bitcoin. They had a huge up day, up 9.6%. They've been outperforming Bitcoin for weeks now. So a lot of that we've talked about is the speculation that they've now checked every box to qualify to get into the S&P 500. So I think they've gotten an awful lot of momentum, and they've had a nice run up off of that. They're really outperforming. I should add them to the chart of Bitcoin miners to compare performance, because they've been the best money of the year so far, with the possible exception of CleanSpark. Well, let's take a look instead of speculate. We look at MicroStrategy. So we know CleanSpark's up 80. What was it? 86% year to date. Let's look at the 1 day. And if I go back to this, I'll give them the first trading day of the year here. That's 121%. So that's outperforming every single Bitcoin miner. So MicroStrategy right now is outperforming every single Bitcoin miner so far year to date. I don't believe that will be true by the middle of the year or the end of the year, but only time will tell. This has been, if you're in this, congratulations. It's been an excellent performer. The other thing is, there's all the Bitcoin spot ETFs out there. That is another way to invest in Bitcoin if you're not interested, or if you feel it's too complicated to actually go buy Bitcoin itself on exchange. And as George likes to talk about, not your what do you say, George?
Not your coins, not your what? Yeah, not your Not your keys, not your wallet. I mean, not your keys, not your coin. Sorry. Not your keys. That's just not yours. I'm worried about. I won't tell you what I'm worried about. Never mind.
You take it back. Well, to George's point,
did you hear the SEC ruling this week, Tom?
I don't know what you're referring to.
So that would be a no.
I think that's a
no. The altcoins and about their securities. I mean, the judge ruled. Sorry. On the case. Hang on, I'll tell you what it said.
Yeah, I did not. I don't know. I am not familiar. So let us know. Let us know. And if there's something that I can pull up, or if you want to send me a link in the Zoom.
Yeah. I will send you a Zoom link.
All right. Then we can take a look and see what's going on there. Right, because we're still right now we're still having Bitcoin have its run. We've still got Ethereum that a lot of people think is going to run. We've got altcoin season potentially ahead. Kevin K, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much for being a member. Much appreciated. Kevin K said, today I sold 2.2% of Bitcoin for 70 Mara shares. What do you think about that? What would you prefer if money equal at time? I mean, Mara shares versus being in Bitcoin itself. I will tell you, I have, Marathon, I'm very bullish on Marathon. I know they have a gigantic shelf offering, $1.5 billion, by far the biggest shelf offering in the history of any Bitcoin miner, but they are the largest market cap. They are the largest in exahash. They did not mine the most Bitcoin in the month of February, which is the first. That breaks like somewhere around a 9-month streak of them finishing in first place in the number of Bitcoin mined in a month. Now, they talked about some specific problems they had with a bunch of their machines. So they had a lot of machines offline in part of January and then again in February. So for Core Scientific, mined more Bitcoin than Marathon. But Marathon has a lot more active exahash. So I think Marathon's one of the big winners. I think they're going to take out their previous all-time high somewhere by the end of this cycle, which that could be 12 months from now, 18 months from now. If history were to hold, the peak of the bull market would be somewhere around 18 months from now. A lot of people think since we're so far ahead of where we were in prior cycles that maybe that will come sooner this time around. I don't know about that. I do think we'll have a bull market well into, at least the third quarter of 2025. That's way out there. 1,000 things could happen between now and then. All right. So, hard to say, but I do think in the meantime, whereas Bitcoin's already, had its first leg of its run up, I think the Bitcoin miners are yet to do their thing. And so I do expect them to outperform Bitcoin in the bull market. And again, back to Darren's point, that doesn't mean every single one of them. So, be careful. And this is about picking the winners. But I believe Marathon's in that group. So I also believe in diversification. So if you hold some Bitcoin, if you hold some Bitcoin miners, if you hold some other cryptocurrencies, whatever works for you. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. I also hold the Bitcoin 2x leveraged ETF, which is BITX. So it does not seem to be very popular. But it's supposed, they trade futures and options. So, it doesn't always work to perfection, but it's been pretty consistently, its purpose is to be a 2x leverage on a daily basis as to what Bitcoin does. So that means to the upside and to the downside. So on the down days, that is painful. So just letting people know that is one of the things that I also invest in. Again, not recommending it by any means, particularly since it is a leverage. It's a 2x leverage on what is already an extremely volatile asset. So just always know what you're investing in, understand the volatility. If you're investing in any of the things we just talked about, if you're not comfortable with volatility, then this probably is not the space for you, because you'd be hard pressed to find areas that have more volatility than Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, even more so than Bitcoin. Now if you're somebody who's used to trading in altcoins and that kind of stuff, then, or if you're a small cap, nano cap, high growth stock trader, then you may be used to this type of volatility. But it's just important to know, that type of behavior of the things you're investing in, because it can be scary. I mean, look at this stream. We're down, now we're down to almost $1,000 in Bitcoin just while we're talking on this stream, but that's well within sight of today's trading range. Oh, you're looking for the 4 o'clock, or sorry, the 5 o'clock pump.
I have a feeling next week's going to be a very interesting week, by the way.
Interesting good, interesting bad?
Yeah, I mean, just interesting. A lot of stuff happening next week. A lot of moving pieces. The whole Kappa goes back and they do closing statements on the 12th next week. Crypto Alliance.
Oh, against what's
Craig
his name?
Wright. Yeah. Against the founder of Bitcoin.
Is there anybody that thinks? Well, here's what's interesting. The end of that's probably going to mean nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I think is going to happen. We can talk about that if people are interested. What's the?
No. I mean, they weren't interested before. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting though. And then so the Coinbase, CoinDesk, I sent you an article from CoinDesk. This was about the fraud. The fraud.
Fraud.
Yeah.
All right. So
fraud. Do you remember back in Coinbase when there was that kid that was working there that was giving his brother all the tips? This was about a year or two ago.
Oh yeah.
That's what this was. That was that pleading out.
Okay. So that they pleaded out and closed out the case?
Yeah.
So just so everybody knows, the previous poll that we just did was Bitcoin miner, what's the best value from today forward? On the last list, CleanSpark finished in first place at 40%, Bitfarms in second place at 25%, Riot at 19%, Marathon at 14%. Marathon, which for a long time people thought was the best investment in our polls. So, we're a small sample group. It's now finishing in last place. So that is interesting to me. CleanSpark has won every one of these polls that we've been doing for months now. Bitfarms seems to be very strong. So now we did the next four, and it's, this is virtually a four-way tie between Core Scientific, Cypher, Iris Energy, and Terawolf. I am very surprised at that. There were two that I thought would maybe pull away in this, and that did not happen. I thought maybe Cypher and Terawolf would be the more popular out of these four. And Cypher is in first place, but like I said, it's so... we have almost 200 votes already in on that, so... I think the runoff would be CleanSpark, Bitfarms. Those two won the last one handily. And Cypher's winning this one, although we're 1 or 2 votes from this being an exact four-way tie.
I know, isn't that crazy? I thought that was insane.
It's unbelievable. So
I'm telling you, I've been thinking about Core.
So let's put Cypher and Core in against CleanSpark and Bitfarms and see if, are they going to finish the distant last, or is that going to be competitive?
I don't know, because I was just looking at their market cap. They're only 750 million.
Their market cap is very confusing, and this is a part of the hard part with them, because they have all these warrants out there, and they have, monumental amounts of debt. They're a different company. They're going to report next week, I believe, and I think once we get all of that information and can put a little bit clearer puzzle together.
Yeah, you got to move on it now, though, don't you think?
Right. Well, if it's all good news, then right. If you're going to miss it, right. I will miss it, because that's how I do this. So I miss
for you.
I win some, I lose some. I'd rather miss than get it wrong, especially since there's so many in this space that I have an ultra high level of conviction in. I don't need to take a risk on the next one.
So what are the warrants and how do they come into play on the stock?
They have several different warrants, and they're at different strike points. Um, so, in theory, when they came out of Chapter 11, I think the plan was that ultimately people would exercise these warrants, get shares of stock, and they would generate enough money to pay off all their debt. That was in from my understanding. And again, please do your own due diligence on this because this one gets super complicated. But to me, it looked to me like, so when they came out of Chapter 11, you didn't get one share of stock for one share of stock. There was a conversion and you got shares of stock and warrants. So it was very confusing to go from point A to point B. It does, if you look at the price of the stock, it looks like, it went down a lot, but I don't think that's fair. I think the warrants aren't being accounted for in that analysis. So I think it has a lot to do with the price action of Core Scientific over the course of this bull run. If it does what it's supposed to do and all those warrants get exercised, that's gonna drastically increase their market cap because remember that'll be all equity. So, when you look at it on a fully diluted basis, accounting for all of the warrants, it's a bigger disparity. So that's something they'll show in the financial statements.
So the warrants are people can execute purchasing stock back at a certain price?
That's right.
So if it gets to $10, then they can execute a warrant to buy them and not have to pay any money for them?
No, they get to buy them at that price. So, if it gets above that price, then people will exercise their warrants in theory because they will be making money on them. Right? If they have a warrant for, and I'll just use round numbers, like if they have a warrant for $10 and the stock's trading at $12, well, you got 20% profit built into that, so you'll exercise your warrant, and in theory,
I guess I'm just so confused that I don't even know what to say. You need to slow it down a little bit there. I'm just a cow.
Can you?
No, but so they made a price purchase for this stock for that warrant.
Right.
Or did they get warrants and stock?
They got, so at the conversion, if you held stock in Chapter 11, remember that was not traded on the NASDAQ, that was over the counter. So that's for each share that you held of that stock, you got a certain amount of the new stock, plus you got, I think, 2 different warrants.
Oh, wow.
So this is what I'm saying. It's a complicated equation. And I'm sure there's people out there that have gone through this and done all the math. And, hopefully if you're invested in this, that's what you've done. But that's kind of the concept. So, wow, you just closed out this second poll and it was almost a 4-way tie. Cypher won, but in what was almost a statistical tie.
Is a warrant and a put the same?
A warrant, it's more like a call. A warrant is closer to a call option.
But they still have to pay that price. No, they don't have to pay that price.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's also there's also a period of time where if the warrants aren't exercised, then the company gets to buy them back, I think, for a penny, and they go away. So now it's unlikely, that would be an unlikely scenario. Somebody will buy the warrants and exercise them before they let their value cease to exist. If there's value there, any amount of arbitrage, that gap gets closed. So, if the price is right, they will get.
So they expire at some point in time.
Yes.
Okay.
Kevin K said it's over my head. And the thing is, I think it's just a matter of how much time you want to put in to understand it. And the question becomes, with 19 other companies that are doing the same thing, do you have some others that, you do know through and through that you have a high level of conviction in? So I don't know. I will spend when their financials come out, I will do the full blown deep dive because obviously they're one of the top 4. There's 4 companies that are just bigger than all the rest of these companies, and Core Scientific is one of them. So I do think it's important to understand what's going on there. While I'm not invested in it, and I don't know that I ever will be, they are, just from a size standpoint, I think they were at 18.9 exahash they reported at the end of February. That's the second largest exahash. Now, I don't know that they're going to stay second largest. Between CleanSpark and Riot, with their growth plans, I do think that both of those companies will pass Core Scientific. But between those top 4, you may see things rotate over time, as you know, each company's growth plan, you know, happens at different paces and different times. You'll see some jump ahead of each other.
Okay, so here's my next question, Tom.
Yes.
How you doing?
I mean, today for me was great, and we had some really, really rough days. For those of you who joined us, we had several unscheduled live streams. One day it was because Bitcoin hit an all-time high, but at the same time, that was a red day for all the Bitcoin miners. So it was kind of mixed feelings on that day. We had some other days where the Bitcoin miners got wrecked, and we did some live streams to kind of go through and talk about it. It's been a rough ride, in part. Now, obviously, we're sitting here at Bitcoin all-time highs. Over the last few minutes, we've pulled back a little bit, but today, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. So, and at the same time, I'm just going to go through a few of the numbers. The leaders on the day, CleanSpark was by far the leader out of the large market cap, up 13.58%. That was a huge up day. Terawolf had a big up day, up 9.24%. Marathon was up 7.7%. Bitfarms up 6.37%. So, out of the big ones, there was Riot was still green, but it was only up 3%, so that lagged a little bit. Cypher was up 2.63%. That lagged a little bit, but I'm going to go to the 1 week on Cypher because, let's compare a couple of these that, I think it's more important to look on the weekly basis. Cypher had this day, right? This was a monster. So this was Wednesday. So if you look at where they were last Friday, right, this is where Cypher closed last Friday to today's close. They were still up almost 14% this week. That was better. They're going to, when I do my weekly charts, they're going to be, that's going to be one of the best performers this week. Obviously, CleanSpark was up 14% today, practically. And then Core Scientific, I want to take a look at their chart because despite the fact they were in the red today, I think they had one of the better weeks. So here's last Friday. So if we go from where they were at the close of last Friday until today, they were up 7.5% this week. So even in a week where it felt like the miners got beat up pretty badly, yeah, and you can see if you look at Core Scientific, since it just started trading again on the NASDAQ on January 24th, and this looks like it was a nightmare disaster down day the first day. But again, I don't think this properly accounted for the split between the stock and the warrants and all that stuff. So I believe when I did the math at the end of the first day, despite the fact that this looks like a disaster, I think shareholders were, if you counted the value of the warrants they got, I think they were at least even, if not up on this day. So anybody, if you're a shareholder, let me know if that was your experience. But when I did the math, this gigantic, awful candle, what looks like, a disastrous first day of trading, I think was pretty much a wash.
Are we going to talk about that fight, Tom? I know, no. Sorry. I care about the fight. Sorry.
But you can put up a poll and see if anybody's interested. If they are, we can talk about it.
I put up a poll. These were the top 4.
Okay. Very good.
So
let's see what happens. It's
a runaway, by the way.
So far, it's looking like all the polls have been. It's funny because, I'm going to go back to this. Let's go back to this chart. This is what has happened so far this year. This is as of the close of of business today, so this includes today's price action, CleanSpark year to date is up 83%. Like, pick your favorite miner. Marathon's in second place, up 0% on the year. Bitfarms is in third place, down 8%. Then you've got a NanoCap and DMG. You got Cypher down 15%, Terawolf down 16%, Riot down 20%, Hive 24%, Iron, I almost said Iris, but it's now Iron, down 25%, BitDeer down 25%, Core 27%. I mean, I'm not going to read every single one of these, but you can see a lot of these smaller cap, nano caps are down, over 40%. While Bitcoin's up 65%. This is the same time frame that Bitcoin is up 65%. You've got Mawson down 47%, Argo down 46%, Gree 44%, Any 43%, Bit Digital. Bit Digital, I will tell you, while I am not invested in Bit Digital, I don't think I think they're unjustly beaten down, in my personal opinion. They have a strong balance sheet. I don't know that they're going to be, I do not believe they will ever be one of the top Bitcoin mining companies. They just haven't set their sights on that. They're taking a different path. They're doing a lot of the ultra high, not just the high performance, the ultra high performance computing stuff. And so, they're going to do some of that. They're going to do some Bitcoin mining. But between what they've got going on and their strong balance sheet, I don't know that, that's one that I'm going to take a closer look at. I'll just say that. So to me, I'm, as of now, putting that at the top of my watch list, and I will probably do my own deep dive on that just to update myself over the weekend and see what's what, because it jumps. And that's why I do all these different charts so many different ways. And I know some of you hate some of these charts, you like some and you think others are garbage, but the more ways you look at this, the better the chance is that something's going to jump out at you. So to me, when I look at this chart, I'm not invested in Bit Digital, but that's kind of jumping out at me. Down 42% year to date when Bitcoin's up 65%. That surprises me. Some of these other ones that are down 40% does not surprise me. Right? Because I have been saying, I'm now 15, 16 months into saying that, there's going to be winners and losers in this space, in my opinion. So the fact we're starting to see some, big discrepancies between the top and the bottom of this list is not a surprise. I do think some of these, Marathon is at 0. Bitfarms is down 8%. I have a high level of conviction in those two. I think ultimately those will end up ahead of Bitcoin by the end of this bull market. That doesn't mean tomorrow. It could get worse before it gets better. What's going on?
No, I'm just reading the things about Doge and Shiba. It's been fun, guys. I'm sorry. They're calling it a moon party for Doge.
Is Doge running?
Oh yeah. They said they're getting it to $1.
Let's just take a little look here. Let's go to,
which blows my mind.
I'm going to press refresh. So the first thing worth noting, this is the top 10 cryptocurrencies. I'll scroll down in a second and show the top 10. But I want to start out with this number right here, if you guys can see this. The cryptocurrency market cap is now at $2.7 trillion. This got down to what, like $800 billion? So this has more than tripled since the bottom.
Okay, I just bought more Doge.
Bought more Doge?
The money I made and bought more. Yeah.
So
I've been having fun with these stupid things. They're killing it.
Doge is in 9th place overall. They're up 6.5% today.
Did you hear me?
What?
These things, at some point in time, they're going to plummet. There's no way.
But the question is, in my opinion, and we can do a poll on this, I don't even think altcoin season has begun. I think we're a while off from this even beginning. So, but some of these are going to go, if you think there's volatility in Bitcoin, the volatility in these smaller coins or tokens, whatever you want to call them, there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything else. I mean, you can see Bitcoin's a $1.3 trillion market cap. Ethereum's in second at 472 billion. You've got Tether, which is now over 100 billion, but that is a stable coin. That's not really, that's not an investment. And then in third place is Binance, down at $72 billion. So, from second place to third place, you drop off from basically $500 million to $500 billion to $72 billion. And then Solana is, not far behind. And then XRP is still hanging around in number 6. Then you've got another stable coin. Boy, has USDC just fallen into insignificance. I think these guys are going public. I thought they had an IPO planned, so we'll see what goes on there. But it is staggering how fast these market caps fall off. And this is why you have, technically, this entire universe is broken out into Bitcoin and altcoins, and that even Ethereum. Now, obviously, at coming up on $500 billion, Ethereum is its own thing. But even in third place, you're just a tiny fraction. Doge is still right now 23. I don't understand Doge. In my mind, if you want to talk about things, and Doge and Shiba Inu are there at 9 and 10 according to this list right now. I guess, a lot of people make money trading them up and down. So hopefully if you're in these, hopefully you're one of the people that's been making money, not one of the people who's getting their money taken away from them. But if we go to the Bitcoin dominance, go to the 1 week because it tells a better story. Right? I mean, you'll see the Bitcoin dominance is still in May of 2021. The Bitcoin dominance went under 49%. It stayed there for years. But this didn't break out until June of 2023. So, Bitcoin's still in dominance mode right now. And this could go up before it goes down. Traditionally, there would be more left in the Bitcoin dominance run before we get to alt season. Now, that it may not play out the same way. We've got a lot of stuff going on with Ethereum in particular, potentially Ethereum getting their own spot ETF. I remain skeptical, but a lot of others are convinced that that is coming sooner than later. A lot of people think potentially this May, there's a deadline. So that may happen.
Got another pull for me, Tom?
Oh, you shut this one down. So let's just go through. So still, despite the fact that CleanSpark year today, I just want to reiterate to everybody because the final poll results are starting now from today forward. The best rate of return for a Bitcoin miner. CleanSpark won 51% in first place. Bitfarms 22%. Core Scientific 14%. Iris Energy 11%. So Bitcoin got a full majority in this vote. And once again, just to point out to people, and I'm just showing you what I'm showing you. Bitcoin's up, or CleanSpark's up 83% year to date. In second place is Marathon at 0. So despite this huge disparity, everybody still thinks CleanSpark's the best investment going forward. So that surprises me. Now, I might be in that group myself. This is my largest investment out of all the Bitcoin miners. One of the reasons it's my largest investment is because it has run up so much while the other ones have stayed the same or gone down. So, I invested a similar amount in 3 or 4 of these, and now CleanSpark is by far, my largest one because for those of you who don't know, I'm pretty much just buy and hold. Obviously, that it doesn't mean forever. So I do have an exit strategy. We talk about having a plan all the time. But for me, I will start averaging out of these, when we get closer to what is traditionally the peak of this 4-year cycle. So we're just now starting to get to the previous all-time high. We haven't even started our run to our new all-time high. So, and that may take some time. Usually that's, somewhere between 6 and 18 months into the future from where we are today.
Are we starting to get a pump yet on Bitcoin?
Let's go back to the chart. Tiny little bit, a tiny little bit. So since 5 o'clock, we have turned into green candles, but still 68,500. We may not get a new, I'm going to go back to the 1 day. Our goal here is our highest daily candle close of all time was on Monday at 68,360. So we are still above that. We still have a good chance. We got just about an hour and a half left. We have a good chance of having a new all-time high daily candle close. We, unless we have some type of nightmare weekend, we should have the highest weekly candle close of all time. And I'm just going to switch this to the 1 week. Right, I think this was the previous high on the weekly. We'll take a look. This closed at 63,154. We go all the way back in time. So actually our highest weekly candle close was, this was the week we candle wicked up to 69,000 in the week starting Monday, November 8th, 2021. That weekly candle closed at 65,505. That's the highest weekly candle close we've ever had. So, unless we have an awful weekend, it looks like we will have the highest weekly candle close in the history of Bitcoin this week. And again, we're only just now getting back to the previous all-time high. I want to show you guys a chart that indicates where we are and what could potentially come next. This chart is from December 16th, 2020 to January 8th, 2021. And the reason I've highlighted that period, December 16th is when we finally got back to our previous all-time high, just under $20,000 in the previous bull cycle. So from that day, December 16th, to January 8th, which is 23 days, right? Because Bitcoin trades 7 days a week. In 23 days, Bitcoin was up 110%. So as soon as we took out our previous all-time high, which is what's happening right now, basically today, as soon as that happened the last time, now technically we candle wicked above it a few days ago, so whatever day you want to count as day one, the last time this happened, 23 days later, Bitcoin doubled. So not saying that'll happen again, but what I will say is something similar to this has happened in every single 4-year cycle. Now, there's only been 3 previous cycles. This is the 4th, so there's by no means any guarantee that that's going to happen. But, somewhere between 3 weeks and 3 months, Bitcoin has pulled a double every single time it's taken out its previous all-time high. So, again, that's what's happening today. From a daily candle close standpoint, that's happening today. So, is this going to resemble previous cycles? Are we about to pull a double here in the next 1 to 3 months? Even call it 3 months. Let's do a poll on that. Can Bitcoin pull a double in the next 3 months? Which it's done every single time in each 4-year cycle. I think I did all of these. So this was the one before that. 83 days, I believe, is the longest it's ever taken to double from once it hits its previous all-time high.
All right.
So anywhere from, 3 weeks to 3 months in the past, that is what has happened.
In your 21 days, by the way, when would that be up? If we go back, what day was that?
If we go back to on the daily candle when we candle wicked above it, you want to start on that day?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So that was Tuesday, the 5th. So it would be 28 days would basically be, the early April. Somewhere in the first week of April. In the first few days of April.
So that would,
huh? that would still be before the halving. By the way, this is the first time, as many of you probably know, this is the first time Bitcoin has ever taken out its all-time high before the halving. It's really never gotten close. One time, it in the middle had a quick candle wick up to 30% under its previous all-time high. That was just a quick candle wick up. That's the best it's ever done. So, you know, when I said earlier, we're way ahead of previous cycles. We're way ahead of previous cycles. Kevin K, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being a member. Kevin K said, in April 2017, my Coinbase read Bitcoin hit 6 cents. Someone out here knows the story. I don't know that story.
What do you mean it's a volatile asset?
Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Is a volatile asset, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why Coinbase would show that it hit 6 cents in 2017. It was, you know, at $20,000.
Maybe it's their humor.
I don't know if there was a fluke. Any single transaction, right? If one transaction occurs, and gets recorded, you know, who knows? I don't know, but obviously that would be, if that happened in Coinbase, I don't know anything about that. But that's not the trading range that was going on at that time.
April 14th. Here it is right here. April 14th, 2017, 6 cents at 8 o'clock at night.
So a transaction occurred at 6 cents.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? So should we go back to, I'm on the Coinbase chart.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. April 14th. I'm on the Coinbase.
So what did it close on that day? On the day it hit 6 cents.
It said it's closed at 6 cents.
We go back in time. 2017.
2017.
Oh boy. That's going back in time. 6 cents.
That was
this is absolute news to me. I
weighed
I was not following Bitcoin at that time, and
270 back then.
You're measuring it versus your weight.
My weight, yeah.
I mean, 6 months later, Bitcoin was at almost $20,000.
Well, and the next day, it was up to 1,000.
So it was still down around $1,000.
You still going back?
Going back in time. We're going back in time. I never heard this story before, so I'm interested.
You're intrigued, huh?
I'm intrigued. Something. I mean, that must have been, you know, you're talking about Bitcoin going down 99.9% in one day. I never heard that story. On what day is this?
April 14th, 2017. It's actually, I'm on Coinbase looking at it.
April 14th. I flew right by. I'm in 2016.
Oh yeah, it's 17.
Oh, see this? It must be this day. This is April 15th. So on this chart,
14th.
So the 14th, according to this chart, this is TradingView's Coinbase chart. So it may be that Coinbase is showing different, but this is TradingView's Coinbase chart, and it said that the low on the day was $1,170. Now the next day it said the low on the day was $900. So there was some kind of flash crash.
I'm looking at the April 14th at 8 o'clock, and it was 6 cents
on Coinbase.
On Coinbase.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that's not what happened to Bitcoin in the world, but there must have been a transaction on Coinbase that caused that. Wild. Yeah, I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you guys were there.
Open? When did Coinbase open?
I don't know. It's been around a long time. I mean, it went public only a few years ago, but it's been around for a long time. I just want to get to a couple of super chats real quick, and then we can get back to that. AG, thanks for the super chat. Memes today. I bought a MacBook for $58K 8 years ago. Nat NG just straight up gave a super chat. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Also AG, thanks for being a member. Much appreciated. Always appreciated. And Nat, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated as well. So I don't know what happened on April 14th, 2017 on Coinbase. But for the rest of the world, Bitcoin was somewhere around $1,000.
Is something going to happen? 041424.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
I don't know. No, I'm just saying. Is something going to happen? That's a great date too. That would be an interesting date. 041424.
Let's get back to reality. Pardon my journey into the past there, but I never heard of that before, so I remain confused. But it sounds like George is on Coinbase looking at the information Coinbase is showing him, and that's what's... Whoa, now I'm in 2029. Now I jumped ahead into the future. We're back. We're back in real time. 68,600. This is on the 1 day. Let's get back to the 15-minute. Dozer, thank you very much for the super chat from Dozer. This for George, since I upset him on ATM day.
You did? Yes, you did. Thank you.
Are you just saying that, or do you remember?
Everybody upsets me. You don't understand. I'm like a punching bag. Don't make me cry.
George.
It's so hard.
Oh, I feel your pain.
I'm on the never mind.
All right.
I won't even say it. I'll get myself in more trouble.
Yes, please. Thank you, Dozer. In any event, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated.
With you know what I do in my downtime, and I'm thinking about doing it, Tom. If you go with me, I'll do it.
What are you thinking?
The WPT poker tour.
Oh, maybe we'll see.
It's in Tampa on the 20th of April, something like that.
April 20th. That could be the day of the halving.
Yeah, it's right around the halving.
Yeah, but how many days does it take to win that thing? That's what you got to think. Do you have that kind of time?
What?
How many days does it take to win? Is it a full-blown event?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Like it starts on a Wednesday and it ends on a Sunday.
That's a commitment.
I can commit for 5 days for $1 million.
Well, yeah, if you win the whole thing.
If
and when.
Okay, I think everybody 69% says Bitcoin's double in the next 3 months.
Wow. Can Bitcoin pull a double in the next 3 months? That is an impressive and surprising result. Well, let me tell you something. This will be the happiest bunch on earth if we pull a double. You know, for in the next 1 to 3 months. That's even optimistic by my measure. And I understand it's happened basically every time. So it would actually be an outlier if it didn't happen this time. But it's a very high bar to set. So while I acknowledge that that is possible and that would follow the trend that has happened throughout history, I'm not setting my sights on it. I would settle for, you know,
all right, welcome to
75,000, 80,000. Welcome, Robin, if I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad, our latest and greatest new member. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope you will join us Tuesday after the market closes. We have our members-only live stream, so we hope to see you there. And you can check out a bunch of videos that are immediately available to you upon joining, including 6 or 7 deep dives on some of the smaller Bitcoin miners that, the public is not as interested in. So, we don't do regular videos on those, but they're deep dives there for members.
This is going to be an interesting poll.
Let's see what you got. In the meantime, let me see what else. Let's see what else is going on in the world. What else did I have to look at? We didn't really talk about, outside of Bitcoin, of course. Find it. So, this was really today's big news, and the market had a pretty funny reaction to this. And I want to talk about this for a minute. The U.S. labor market cooling, unemployment rate rises to 2-year high of 3.9%. So, non-farm payroll came out today. That's one of the big data points that everybody looks at, and to me, the bigger data point that comes out along with that is the unemployment. Because when you talk about the Fed and you talk about their dual mandate has to do with keeping inflation in check and keeping unemployment in check. So essentially, the way this works is, right now, their number one concern by far is inflation, right? And for that reason, they have raised interest rates. It was a historic, rapid interest rate hike. And, we have not yet gotten a rate cut. And we were priced in to get a rate cut in March. At one point, it was 90-something% the futures had priced in for a rate cut in March. And if I go, you'll see now, even in May, we're only sitting at a 25%, 24.4 plus 0.7. This would be 50 basis points. This would be 25 basis points. So basically 75% chance we're not going to get a rate cut in March and May. So the market has cooled way off on when these rate cuts are coming. And yet, despite that, even though we had a little pullback, the S&P last week hit its all-time high. The NASDAQ hit its all-time high. Bitcoin has hit its all-time high. And that's before we start to price in, what I think is inevitable rate cuts. And I do think they will come sooner. The market's saying 75% chance of no rate cut, even after the May meeting. I think the market's got this wrong. So this is a fairly reliable measure. This is typically correct, but it also does change a lot. You'll see a month ago, there was a 50% chance of a rate cut in May. And what you can't see is 2 months ago, there was a 100% chance of a rate cut by the May meeting. So I think we will swing back around to where we were just less than 2 months ago. I believe we will get a rate cut in this May meeting. And I think that today's number is going to be one of the big reasons. So this unemployment at 3.9%, that is a 2-year high. So ultimately, the Fed has to shift from saying, okay, at some point, our number one worry, we have a dual mandate. And right now, the bigger problem for the last several years has been inflation. But as unemployment ticks up, it gives them cover to do what they need to do for a few other gigantic reasons. George, you like to talk about the banking, if you want to talk about that for a second.
That is falling apart. They got a cash problem. So, which aspect do you want to talk about?
I mean,
how they're changing the rules as we speak right now, and how the Federal Reserve doesn't have any money. Which aspect do you want to talk about?
So, the potential, I don't want to say crisis, but problems or bank failures for regional banks.
How about this one? And I'll just say this one. That there's only 3% cash to cover your deposits. If everybody went right now to get your cash out, it would only be 3%.
So that's the old potential run on the bank. And that scenario only kicks in when people lose confidence in a bank. But we have seen that happen. 3 of the 4 largest
Fiat.
bank.
I think it's different when you, well, I mean, I guess if you lose faith in fiat, you don't really care if it's in the bank or not.
Well, specifically, 3 of the 4 largest bank failures in the history of the US were last year.
Yeah.
So,
And that's not done yet.
that is my point. While the Fed has a dual mandate, which is, to keep inflation in check and to keep unemployment in check, the interest rates affect the housing market in a massive way, the automobile market in a massive way, banks, the entire banking industry, particularly right now, the regional banks, and a lot of these regional banks, and I won't get too deep into the weeds on this, but a lot of the regional banks, interest rates were low, very near zero for what seemed like forever, and the thought was that that was going to persist. So a lot of these regional banks went extra heavy into longer treasury bonds, 10-year bonds. So all of a sudden, when the interest rates ticked up, there was an inversion in the yield curve, and these 10-year, the shorter term bonds became worth more than the long term bonds. So those became illiquid. So to George's point, if there was started to be a run on those banks, they were going to have to sell those for a loss, and there were certain banks that did fail as a result of this. And the question is, are there more out there? And the fix to this is ultimately to lower interest rates and get that back into balance. So I think you're going to see that happen. This is just one of a lot of reasons where, I think we're not going to get back. I do not believe they're going to get back to, essentially zero interest rates in the US, although there are other countries that have been there for decades and remain there. There are some countries that have negative interest rates. So it's not unprecedented. I'm not even suggesting we're going to go there, but interest rates have been, higher for longer has already happened, in my opinion. And I do think that May meeting, we're going to get a rate cut. And I think that is going to be another catalyst. My point of all this is,
do you think they'll go half a point?
I don't think they'll come out of the box half a point. I think to go from, they've done nothing for, a lot of meetings in a row. So, a quarter of a point would be a big signal that it has begun. Darren S. said, breaking news, Bitfarm files yet another at the market. Is that true?
Oh, that would suck ass. Sorry.
So they had a smaller at the market, and we know, they told us what their plan. So this is what everybody. I'll check this, but this is the thing to be careful about. All these Bitcoin miners that are looking to drastically increase
375 million at the market offering, but this could be old. Nope.
So, and I think that's the same as the last one they did. The last one they did was either 350 or 375 million.
Do it, dude. Do it right now, those bastards.
So let's see.
Here, let's take a picture of that and watch that thing plummet after hours. You know that?
Company intends to use the proceeds of the at the market program, if any, primarily on capital expenditures to support the growth and development of the company's existing mining operations, as well as for working capital and general corporate purposes. So they always will add this language for working capital and general corporate purposes. They can't limit themselves to just one thing. They've got to give themselves some flexibility. But you can see primarily on capital expenditures. So I would tell you that this goes to the identical conversation I just said about Terawolf. And this is true of all the Bitcoin mining companies. If they've announced gigantic growth plans, that money isn't going to, they're not planning on winning the lottery. There's only one place they can get that money, right? Debt is out of the question for these companies. There are no Bitcoin mining companies, and for all intents and purposes, one could argue that potentially Marathon and Riot are now big enough that they could borrow a little bit of money, but none of the other Bitcoin miners could go borrow enough money to support their growth plans that they're talking about. So they're going to do these at the market offerings until they've reached their goal. I will tell you that in Riot's case, all the machines that they've purchase ordered to get to, I think, 38 exahash, they said that they do not need to raise another dollar to pay for all of that. Riot and Marathon have approximately $1 billion in liquidity. So Riot has said, now, they just put out a $750 million at the market shelf offering. But to their point, they're saying that's not for the growth we've already told you. That's for the next round of growth coming after that. So we'll see what happens. Wow. But, you know, they're talking about getting to 50 exahash and then 100 exahash. I was pretty dismissive about the concept of Riot getting to 100 exahash, but they're you know,
do they have the facilities built or no?
Between their two facilities in Texas, they will have 1.7 gigawatts of power. I mean, that dwarfs everybody else in this industry. So, yeah, they don't need any further, you know, they don't need any more facilities. They don't need to, they've got, you know, they got to finish building. They're not done building the Corsicana facility, but that's a 1 gigawatt facility.
That's just massive, by the way.
Right. And that's going to be all their own. So, you know, they can keep growing as much as they, you know, obviously there's some limit, but, you know, the end is not in sight for them with what they have. So, and I'm still extremely skeptical that they will get to 100 exahash. That those options, they have options to purchase machines up to 100 exahash. Those options expire December 31st, 2025. So even if they did exercise all those options, it could be a year or two later before they get the, you know, finalize and get them all up and running. If ever, I remain skeptical they'll get to 100, but, you know, I do think it's more and more possible that 50 or 75 is something that could very potentially happen if Bitcoin, all of this is predicated on the fact that Bitcoin has the bull market, you know, this 4-year cycle, like other 4-year cycles, and allows these companies to get where they're going. So in the meantime, after hours, we should see, is Bitfarms getting beat up for this in the short term?
Not yet. I mean, not yet, but.
So we'll see. Who knows if people are paying attention to this Friday after the market closed.
Friday,
This is such classic, typical behavior. Announce this kind of stuff.
Those Canadians.
Friday after. It's not just Canadians. This is publicly traded companies. Bad news is saved for Friday after the market closes. And honestly, I don't even think this is bad news, but I understand it's significant news. I think, you know, it's something we knew was coming, but it's never fun to get here. If this does have a, you know, result in a big pullback, you know, they were up over 6% today. So, you know, for me, they're a long way probably from me adding any more to my position. It's already my second largest position.
But what if they get back under $2?
Under $2, I start to get interested in Bitfarms for sure.
Sorry.
AG, thanks for being a member. Thank you very much for the super chat. And AG said in all caps, loving this news for Bitfarms. So yeah, if you're bullish on Bitfarms and you want to see them get to where they're going in this next cycle, remember, this is $375 million. We just had, you know, Cleanspark has a $500 million offering. Riot has a $750 million offering, and Marathon has a $1.5 billion offering. So, you know, welcome to the party. This is what I'm talking about. This is what's coming. You know, if your miner hasn't done this yet, I would just put on the table that there's a pretty reasonable chance they're going to. And if they're not, I'd be even more worried, you know, for the companies that haven't announced growth plans and haven't done at the market offerings. You know, it's pretty late in the game to start now. So there's a handful of companies, I won't mention any names right now, although we may end up mentioning some names, all right, that are conspicuously absent in this conversation. And I would be worried if I had a lot of money invested in a Bitcoin miner and they had not rolled out any growth plans going into the halving, I'd be scratching my head saying, you know, what's their path? What's their path to success from here?
I don't know. You gotta get over 10, right? Exahash minimum, you think?
I'm not saying to survive. Here, I'm going to show you a chart. I just finished putting this together today. So a couple of things on this. We can go through some of this other information. This is comparing month over month, but I want to just focus on this column right here, which I will just for the minute turn red so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can still read that. This is everybody's exahash that they reported as of their February update. So this was their exahash at the end of February. So you see at the top of this list, Marathon's at 28.7 exahash already. Core Scientific at 18.9. CleanSpark's up to 16 exahash. Remember, this is as of February 29th. On January 1st, they were at 10 exahash. So they just ran from 10 to 16. Riot is still sitting at 12.4 exahash. I will tell you, they have gigantic plans over the next, 3 to 4 to 5 months. So that's one of the things I'll be looking very closely at. They have massive growth plans for 2024. They've got to get off of this 12.4 exahash. They have spent a lot of time on this Corsicana, which is now allegedly on the brink of coming online. And that's going to allow them to start to grow their exahash. They've purchase ordered all the machines to get, well beyond this. But, that's in fourth place. We've dropped to 12.4 exahash. Then you'll see there's a bunch here in the 6 to 7 range. Cypher's at 7.4, Hut at 7.2, Bitfarms at 6.5, BitDR at 6.7, Iris Energy at 6.3, Terawolf at 7.5. After this group, and we'll talk about some of these in specific, after this group, it drops off to 4.2 exahash with Hive and then 4.1 for Stronghold. So you can see there's a gap, right? You've got 1, 2, 3. I think this is 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10? These companies down here, and I'm not saying they're going to fail. So don't misunderstand me. There's room in the middle. But, if you're on this list down here, or if you're one of these companies right here, and you haven't given clarity as to how you're going to get from here to, the next phase, which is that 10 to 15 exahash range, then I would start to be worried because you can see the leaders are already, between 16 and 28 exahash. And these four companies have already put their plans together to get into the between 30 and 40 exahash. So, if you're not targeting, 10, 15, 20, my fear is you're going to get left behind. The other thing worth noting, as long as I have this chart up, there were two companies in the month of February that actually outperformed the month of January. So the month of January, every single Bitcoin miner went down from December to January. We expected that. We talked about it before it happened. There was clear reasons for that. Between the difficulty level and the outsized fees in December, we knew everybody was going to go down in January. There were two massive difficulty level increases in February, and February has 2 less days. So, the rest of these results make sense. We were expecting, plus or minus 15% to the downside. So for those who did better than that, those are decent results. And there were two companies, CleanSpark and Terawolf. They actually mined more in February than they did in January. And that was due to the fact that they increased their exahash. So these two companies managed to get a bunch of exahash online in the month of February, enough to overcompensate for those other factors and mine more. So, I'll update all the monthly lists. There's a lot more information than this, but at the time being, I just wanted to show everybody, this is what I'm looking at. Where do they go from here? This is going to be crucial because after the halving, if you're at 6 exahash 6 months from now, I'm just not sure how many Bitcoin you're going to be mining.
What's funny is I'm looking at, Tom, can you commit to commitment?
Be more specific.
July 25th, what are you doing?
I don't know. What
do you want to go to the conference?
Oh, is it the Bitcoin conference?
It's in Nashville, yeah.
Do you?
I think we gotta go.
Well, if we got to go, then we should go.
I think it would be fun. I mean, everybody's gonna be there,
We
except
didn't.
the companies that don't look like they're gonna make it.
Well, we skipped a year, so
Yeah.
maybe we. All right, let's do it.
Well, I mean, I figure
Let's
you
do it.
fly into Atlanta and then we can go from there over.
Right.
Or
Okay.
take the jet. You want to take the jet or no? Just take the little helicopter.
I'm definitely not getting in a helicopter. That's 100%. That's for sure.
I wonder how much it's gonna drop. I think the 25th is for July 25th for Industry Day, and then the 26th is the first day that it's open for everybody. So I figure we'll do the Industry Day because that was really successful, I think, last time.
Yes.
So it's the 25th through the 27th.
I'm in. I'm in for the Bitcoin conference. Absolutely.
Now my question is, do we do a whale pass? There's so much freaking money.
It depends what you get, because the last time when we looked at what you get for a whale pass, I'm not paying 5 times the amount of money just to shake a couple of hands. So
no, they should pay me. Shake my hand.
Robert, who's a member, said Bitfarms, Cypher, Iris Energy, and Wolf will all be fighting to just stay in the game. Anything below is done. So that's Robert's opinion. And to that point, Bitfarms, Cypher, Iris Energy, and Terawolf have all articulated big growth plans. So yes, I agree, Robert. Those would be, and that's why I had that next 4. Who was the 4th one on top of that? There was one more. There was 8 in total that have really given us. Core Scientific was the other one in that second group of 4. But yeah, these are the companies that have given us a clear path. They've told us where they want to go. They haven't all raised enough money to get where they want to go. So to that end, yes, you're going to see more dilution, but they need to get where they're going. Unmolded Jeff does not like Bitfarms management. but singles out Ben Gagnon is good though. Ben is, in my opinion, Ben is top notch.
I know nothing. I don't know who they are.
Did Hut give up on Bitcoin mining? Is our current poll. 57% say yes, 43% say no. Time will tell. They put out a little something, right? They said they were, and then they had another. They did, yeah.
Down
we'll
3%.
See. Bitfarms?
Yep. It'll plummet. Eat more chicken, George. I'm trying.
Justin said, haters will hate and will miss out on the money to be made. AG, I feel the U.S. miners are most vulnerable due to political and regional issues. Bitfarms has great geographic advantage. Bitfarms does have very good diversity from an operational standpoint. So that's true. But I do think there's some places that, they're in a couple of places that pose some potential problems, but by being diverse and being in multiple places, they spread their risk. So I agree with that.
So do you buy a car or do you go to the Bitcoin conference as a whale? $11,500.
Yeah, that's crazy. That would be out of the question, in my opinion.
21% off with BTC.
21% off if you pay in Bitcoin. That's a big discount. So here's an article that came out today that to me makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Bitcoin's record-breaking run could postpone Fed rate cuts. This from JP Morgan. So I'm just going to call them out. And I'm not alone. I don't know. I don't know who's sitting at a desk over there making this stuff. I don't really think that they necessarily believe the things that they say. There is no way that Bitcoin will have any impact on what the Fed does in any way. In my opinion, there is a 0% chance that the Fed is that is a part of their equation in any way, shape, or form. So to me, in my personal opinion, this is a statement in total nonsense. What do you guys think?
Complete and utter nonsense.
And we know that JP Morgan's boss is one of the great Bitcoin haters. He's on record as absolutely despising Bitcoin. So
do you think a good way to determine what that's going to dilute the shares at Bitfarms is to take the 375 million, put it towards the price of what it is today, and add it all up and then divide it out with a new number of shares, or no?
I think it will probably be less than that number.
Okay.
Right? Because we're just getting into a bull market.
So
there may
it's going to be like 220, 230. That might be a good deal.
If it gets to, I mean, for me, because it's my second largest position, I wouldn't buy another share unless it got under $2, which would be a big pullback from here, especially since it did touch in pre-market $4 the other day. So that'd be a 50% pullback. Even then, there's, I think it's a bargain at that price. I will say that, but I have an oversized position in that already. So I'm take a big deal for me to start buying more of that at this point. But I pounded the table for a year and a half at $1.05 and $1.12, and so and we'll see. These typically tend to be very quick pullbacks. And usually, if I didn't have a full position and there was a big pullback, a lot of times, one of my all-time favorite times to buy stocks, I buy the dip on companies that I have confidence in, that have a plan. They've told us our plan, and they do stock dilution, and we know that they've already shown us how it's going to be accretive to the company. When the stock pulls back, that's one of the main times I buy the dip. So I probably won't buy this dip only because, like I said, I already have an oversized position in this particular company. But for me, there's 4 or 5 events where, to me, it's like that's what I look for in the market. And so if there's a sell-off on that, right, this dilution should be a surprise to nobody. So if there's a big sell-off on that, then maybe it's a potential opportunity.
Okay. Interesting.
I had another one I wanted to show you guys. Here's the FUD of the day. As I was saying, Jamie Dimon's not a big fan of Bitcoin. Today, SEC's Gensler says crypto, quote, rife with abuses and fraud. SEC Chair Gary Gensler offered new warnings about cryptocurrencies as Bitcoin surged to new all-time highs Friday, saying in an interview with Yahoo Finance that, quote, the whole field is rife with abuses and fraud. He added, Bitcoin is, and this part is true, Bitcoin is highly speculative, volatile underlying asset. So it's highly volatile. There's no question about that. Nobody can argue that. But Gary Gensler cannot find a nice thing to say about Bitcoin. It's just not in his DNA. It's why, and Bitcoin's the one he's already kind of accepted exists, right? He's not even, everybody's agreed Bitcoin's a commodity. You know, the SEC's not even gunning for that one anymore. But it's why I remain skeptical as to Ethereum's possibilities of getting an ETF this soon. Although I'm starting to feel like there is a possibility, but I think that would be fast, because I can tell you it's just in the fiber of Gensler's DNA. He does not want to do that. So the question is he going to be backed into a corner where he has to do it? Just a quick look at the fear and greed index for those who are interested. 81 right now, 82 yesterday, 80 a week ago. So we're in extreme greed right now. So, you know, obviously we're at an all-time high, so this is not a surprise. We can get higher than this. If I go out to the max chart, you'll see, you know, we got in deep into the 90s, into the mid 90s on this, and we stayed there for the better part of a month and a half back in December of 2020 and January of 2021. So, and then we got back there again in February of 2021. So we're in the low 80s. This can get into the mid 90s. So we're definitely getting overheated, but these runs can continue. But 80's high, right? This is as far back as this goes. So this crypto fear and greed index started in 2018. So we didn't get the full previous cycle, but you know, 80's starting to get overheated. A significant period of time in the 90s. This wasn't even when Bitcoin hit its all-time high. This was the period of time where Bitcoin went, you know, from its previous all-time high to that double that we looked at earlier in the stream. So this was up around this period of time. Then, you know, we had a double top really in April, and then again in November of 2021, we hit our all-time high, and this thing got back up into the mid 80s again. And then that was it. And we haven't been there again until now. So just something to keep your eye on. The fear and greed index is up there.
My daughter just came into town.
Oh, nice. Any other thoughts, George? Any parting thoughts? It feels like everybody's ready for the weekend.
Yeah, no, not really. I'm just ready. I'm ready to not get beat up on Shiba.
You gonna trade altcoins over the weekend?
That's
or are you just gonna take a break?
No, I let them. I have some fun. I'm not greedy. I just make a little and leave.
Well, I'm going to be doing the weekend update this weekend. So I'll do all the weekend charts. And then during the week next week, I'll do the monthly update. So those are ahead. We'll do some deep dives into some of these companies. We did get a lot of earnings over the last week. We're going to get some more next week. So there's a lot of information out there, a lot to go through. So today was a great day for Bitcoin, and it was a great day for the Bitcoin miners. We haven't had one of these in a while. So congratulations to everybody. Hope your guys' portfolio is doing well. I hope you guys are men and women, everybody. I say guys as that's my generic term. Hope everybody has a great weekend. George, thank you.
See you guys.
Have a great weekend. And for the members, live stream, of course, on Tuesday after the market closes. And of course, as always, if Bitcoin does something special in either direction, we'll let everybody know. We'll put out a notice and we'll do, you know, we call them emergency live streams, but impromptu live streams. We do a live stream every Friday after the market closes, which is what we're doing right now. We do a members live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. But if something interesting is going on, we will jump on and talk about it. So I appreciate all you guys. Anybody, if you haven't smashed the like button, it does help out the stream and it does help out the channel. If you have not yet subscribed, consider subscribing. And thank you to everybody. We finally did get to 20,000 subscribers. So we've been working towards that for a long time. So special thanks to the members. I see a lot of members in the chat section. So thank you very much. It is much appreciated. And thank you to the subscribers. And so once again, everybody have a fantastic weekend and we will see you next week. Go Bitcoin.